The folks who have the biggest success quickly don't get hung up on the things not being perfect right now. They're still sold on what it is that they're doing, where it is that they're going, and you cannot stop them. There's this energy. There is this badassery. There is this element of you can't F with them, that they can handle a lot. Their capacity for handling a lot because they're so sold on what it is that they're doing. They move at a different pace than many of you are able to move because you're not sold on what it is that you're doing. Hey, beautiful friend. If you're a longtime listener of the podcast who's been dying to work with me but hasn't pulled the trigger yet, I have an incredible opportunity to work with me for a fraction of the cost. If your estheticians can't explain your signature plans or your new injectors panic every time they have to sell a high-ticket consult, it's not their fault. It's the system, or more specifically, your lack of one. That's exactly why I built Ask Heather AI, the first strategist level tool for aesthetic and wellness CEOs who want to scale with precision and stop flying by the seat of their pants. Inside, you get 3 powerful tools, each designed to solve the exact gaps that keep your growth tied to you. Turn your basic menu into a branded high-ticket signature offer suite your whole team can sell. Train every team member to lead premium consults with confidence, even if they've never sold a thing. Write magnetic messaging that attracts premium patients without sounding like every other clinic online. These are the same frameworks we've used to scale clinics to 7 figures and beyond, and they used to cost 5 figures to access. Now, you can have them in your back pocket. Try Ask Heather AI for 30 days and see what happens when you stop guessing and start scaling with words that work. Head over to heathertrevine.com/trial to learn more. Hello, my beautiful friend. Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. Today, we're going to talk about who is the number one person you need to sell to in 2026. All right. Who is the number one person you need to sell to in 2026? And it's oftentimes the person you forget about, and it is you. And I was inspired by this episode because I just see it coming up so much for my clients. But when I look around at all of my clients and all my students, and if I were to say one trait that really impacts their ability to be able to lead, it would be this idea that they are sold on their own ideas. They are sold on their decisions. They are sold on the vision that they have for themselves. And for some of you, you're not very sold on what it is that you're doing. And then you're going out and you're trying to sell other people into something that you're really shaking on. And in this episode, I want to unpack how to sell yourself first and where you are not selling yourself first and how that is showing up in everything that you do. So a few years ago, I'm trying to think, this is probably more like 5+ years ago because I've done a lot of work on this. But back in the day, I remember when I had my e-commerce business, so this is longer than 5 years ago. Geez Louise, time. I used to feel like Bryce wasn't that supportive of my business. I thought, he doesn't get it, that he wasn't as bought in as I wanted him to be, that he didn't see the vision that I had. But what I came to realize many years ago was that he was actually mirroring my uncertainty, my confusion, my lack of conviction in what I was building. Now, fast forward a number of years, and I'm so sold on myself, my work, and our mission that it's a joke. I'm moving differently. And guess what? Bryce is like, hot damn, you go girl. Like his energy now around the business and supporting me and being a cheerleader for me and all of those things is like on fire. And it's because I'm so on fire that he is projecting that back to me. And back in the day, I was like, oh, he should be more supportive. He should be my cheerleader when I'm feeling the doubt and the uncertainty and all of those things. And what I made the decision a long time ago, like, no, I have to be sold on myself first. I have to be sold on what it is that I'm doing. And I see this pop up, like I can tell right away when somebody says, I have to talk to my husband first. And I have a few clients right now that I can think of that their husbands are actually true partners, they're entrepreneurs, and their husbands' opinions are actually valid. But for many of you, like Bryce is really successful in his own career. And so, yes, I can sometimes, riff things off of him, but 9 times out of 10, he is not the right person for me to be even asking questions around investments and other things because he's never actually built a multi-million-dollar coaching business, right? So he's coming from his perspective. And so when I used to show up to him back in the day, whether it was with my e-commerce business or it was with my coaching business, and I was showing up, it went in a energy where I was clearly not sold on the thing that I was telling him, he's a human being. And so he would reflect that back to me. And so what I would offer to you, because many of you, oh gosh, I can tell right away when you're like, oh, I got to go talk to my husband. And you tell me that your husband is like a principal or I don't know, a mechanic or something like, they're a salaried worker of some kind. And to be clear, Bryce is actually 100% commissioned. He actually is a PLLC for what he does. And even then, I had to take his input with a grain of salt back in the day. And what happened is that when I got so damn sold on myself, so sold on our programs, so sold on the results that I create, so sold on our mission and what it is that we are doing, everybody else around me was so much more sold on it too. Instead of hoping that, looking around me, and this is a true story, what I used to do, not knowingly, right? Back in the day, I thought I was just being thorough. But a lot of times when you're not sold on something, you move slower, you retract, right? You slow down. You have to go and pull. You have to abdicate the decision-making to other people because you're not sold on it. So you are actually trying to borrow other people's beliefs. And what I would offer to you that if you feel like your team's not selling well, if you feel like people aren't on board for what it is that you're doing, then it likely is this problem that you are not sold on whatever it is that you're leading people through. Sometimes it is a case where you're just like, this person who's on my team is not a fit for our values and we need to probably part ways with them. That happens too, but you're more likely to part ways with them when you are 100% sold on what it is that you're doing and you have this energy behind it. This shows up for whatever it is that you're selling in an acute selling environment too. So for many of your team members, if this is you and you have a hard time selling, many of you aren't sold on what it is that you're selling. And then you come to me and tell me that it's, all these other, I had a team member tell me that she was really sold on the packages and what have you, or the treatment plans or whatever it was. And she's like, but they aren't, right? Like the patients aren't. And so and I could tell by the energy. Now, she really does believe that she's sold on it, but I could tell. I was like, well, part of the work is actually being sold on the idea that you have patients that are going to be sold on it. And so that's that area we've talked about. You can go back and find it. I have an episode on the podcast called The Belief Diamond. And those are like the 4 core areas that I really love for you guys to spend time building your belief around. And it's being belief in your offer, belief in your ability to deliver outstanding outcomes, belief in your market, that your market is actually primed for what it is that you offer and do as well. And then belief in your team that they will have the ability to be able to sell as well. And actually honing that belief. But ultimately, oftentimes, what's coming up for you is that you aren't truly sold on it. So let's talk about why you must sell yourself first, where you must sell yourself first, and then what you can do in practice to actually continually sell yourself. We have this worksheet inside of MSA. It's called the Irresistible Offer Worksheet. And it's designed now with, if you use it with Ask Heather AI too, it's just like you can quickly do this and create some really incredible marketing copy. So the idea behind it is that you can create some really great positioning and messaging that is going to be very identity based for the avatar that you're trying to target. But the second job of this document is actually to help the person who's filling it out be more sold on it as well too. Like, we're making it irresistible for them, but if it's not irresistible for you first, this is why I will ask folks when we are helping them put together bonuses for things. So maybe they're going to have a bonus for an event they're putting together. They want some sort of irresistible raffle. I will do a thermostat check and ask them, how awesome do you think this bonus is? Right? Because if you are sold on how awesome this bonus is, you will show up with a different type of energy than if you aren't sold on it. So these are the areas you want to be sold on. You want to be sold on your offers, okay? You want to be sold on your services, your expertise. This is why when we're helping you put together your signature solutions, I want you to be sold on the clinical protocols that are built within them. This is where some of you are a little wobbly. Sold on your leadership, your ability to make decisions like a mother effing boss and move quickly. And if, I'm like, you've heard me say this analogy before, but I'm the captain of the ship. The ship is heading out to sea to take me to where we're going, which is my vision, right? And not everybody's on the ship with me. And leadership is being so sold on where you are captaining the ship, like where you are taking the ship, that, if you have folks that, an employee that leaves and takes a bunch of patients with them, you have somebody write a really scathing negative review online, you find out that a peer is talking crap about you. You have, some other complaint that happens. Maybe one of your family members tells you that your little business, says something condescending about your little business that actually cuts deep. This is like when you spend the time selling yourself and you spend the time owning what it is that you're doing, that stuff's just going to roll off, right? That stuff is not going to kick you down. I have clients this last year who were sued, right? So they have like a legal battle that they are contending with as well too. And they have shown up like incredible leaders because they are sold on what they are doing. So you want to be sold on your leadership. That's a key area that many of you need to sell yourself on. Your authority for what it is that you do. Now, here's the thing. You may need to circumstantially change some things so that you are bought into what it is and your authority and your methodology and what have you. So is that an area that that circumstantially you could get better clarity on, get better systems on? Then yes, you can actually change circumstances as well. But what I will offer to you is that the folks who have the biggest success quickly don't get hung up on the things not being perfect right now. They're still sold on what it is that they're doing, where it is that they're going, and you cannot stop them. There's this energy. There is this badassery. There is this element of you can't F with them, that, they can handle a lot, their capacity for handling a lot because they're so sold on what it is that they're doing. They move at a different pace than many of you are able to move because you're not sold on what it is that you're doing. Like sold on your pricing, sold on your ability to deliver outstanding results. People mirror your energy. And you know this because you have bought things before, or you have believed something before. If you look at modern media right now, and you look at even the politicians that, quite frankly, are very underexperienced in for what it is that they're actually running for. And they win, not because they have the most experience, but because they're so sold on what it is that they're doing. They have this confidence, they have this conviction, they have this unapologetic audacity to show up. And that energy is very magnetic and it's believable, right? So people will mirror back to them even when they don't have what they're saying is a bunch of misinformation. They are showing up with so much certainty, even with the delivering of this misinformation, that people believe it. Right? And it's because of the energy they show up. And there's actually a lot of research that shows that this is true as well. There are less charismatic and there's folks that actually are more knowledgeable about things. And part of this is the Dunning-Kruger effect. It's like once you actually start becoming a true expert in an area, you actually realize the disparity of how much more information you have than when you actually aren't very intelligent in an area. When you don't actually know much in a category, you have this sort of cavalierness about it because you aren't aware of the disparity of how much you don't know about, which is sort of counterintuitive to think about. So I think there's a little bit of that going on. But some of the way you are showing up, how this is preventing you from actually showing up and being able to lead your business in a way. And not only that, but like, I want for each and every one of you who listen to this, I want you to stop second guessing yourself. Stop looking to others for their approval. Stop slowing yourself down. Stop worrying about the fact that, you're going to, the whole idea of FAFO, F around and find out, like, when you are more sold on what you're doing, you do a lot more of that instead of like, oh, I got to do the research. I got to ask my husband. I got to go drop the question in that Facebook group of other aesthetic practitioners to ask first, right? To get a poll going because I'm uncertain. When people aren't sold on things, they apologize for their prices. They over-explain their offer. They say things like, this might not be for you, before anyone is even actually objected to what they're saying. You can notice when somebody's explaining versus when they're declaring. Selling yourself first shifts the language from, does this make sense, to here's how this works. When you're sold, you're relaxed, you're curious, you're unattached. Selling from self-belief feels like choosing, not chasing. How is this showing up for you in team meetings? A leader who isn't sold asks the team what they think before sharing their vision. Sounds uncertain, like, I'm thinking maybe we should do this thing, right? A solid leader casts the vision first, invites collaboration second. Your team doesn't need consensus, they need conviction. Another sign that you're not sold on yourself and what it is that you're working towards and doing is the I'll wait until it works trap. People delay belief until the revenue proves it, until engagement proves it, until clients prove it. This is why many of your investments don't work out for you. This is why when you invest in Facebook ads, they don't work out sometimes. This is why you launch a new offer or a new device and it doesn't do well at first, especially if you haven't really sold yourself. And, this pops up, especially if it's something that people don't feel qualified on at first or experienced on. Results don't create belief. Belief creates results. You cannot create the results without going out and having enough belief that you can create those results. I know that's a mind trip. And then it is a snowball. you actually do start creating more and more and more and more and more and more results, which fuels your belief. But to start off, the folks that just decide to believe and to be sold on what they're doing, even when they don't have evidence of the results yet, those people end up, ironically, creating a hell ton more of results. Now, I look back at it myself, at Heather of a number of years ago, where I didn't have the awareness, where I didn't have the conviction and the certainty with what it is that I'm doing now. And I see all of my blind spots of how this showed up for me. You know, I'm not perfect. It can still sometimes show up, but by and large right now, I got it going on right now. I can get negative feedback. I could have a team member leave. I could hear somebody chirping or say something about, you know, me being visible or what have you. I could have a family member say something that is sort of derogatory about what I'm doing. I can have all these things happen. I can have all this sort of feedback and chatter happening in the background right now. And I do. I have people who say crappy things to me, right? But I'm too busy. I'm so sold on what it is that I'm doing. I'm just like, that rolls right off my back now. I am like, go, go, go. I'm on a mission. And that energy is what is pulling me forward. And what's funny is that now around me, like I was just saying on, I don't even remember if it was this episode or the episode I was recording earlier, but I just recently met with my bookkeeper. I met with my CPA. We're meeting with our financial people as we do at the end of the year. And I was telling them, I was telling Bryce, I was telling my team, I was telling everybody like my financial, like my number goal for next year and then my profit margin goal. And it's funny, like I was like 5 years ago, I never would have said it with the kind of certainty that I said it now. And everybody believed it. They were like, I mean, my CPA was like doing all the numbers based on it. And why? Because I showed up with belief. All of them mirrored back to me that. I remember a couple years ago, I had a client, God bless her, but we helped her actually triple her revenue in her clinic, okay? We helped her triple her revenue. And then she had a couple circumstances that popped up and she was thrilled, right? She was like over the moon with us, which by the way, felt good, right? She circumstantially was giving me a lot of like positive feedback for our frameworks and our coaching and all those things. And she had a couple bad things happen. She had an ads team that she'd been working with for years suddenly ghost. And she couldn't get a hold of them. And it had been like over a month or two. She had some delays with some construction that she was having going on. And those two things happened to her. And all of a sudden, she thought that, and she'd brought on a new team member at the same time. And so now she didn't have the ads running to actually get the team member booked out. And so she was stressed and all the things. And so she had lots of thoughts for me about things that, you know, she was blaming on me that really had nothing to do with me. And a few years before that, like I would have said like maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I'm guessing on the timeline, I would have been shook by that. I would have taken that personally. But I'm so sold on what I'm doing right now. Now, this doesn't mean I do not take feedback from folks. Like when somebody's telling me constructively, I think it would be better if the experience was like this. We totally listen to that. I'm like so neutral. I love feedback like that, actually. But if you, like this person was really blaming me for things that were outside of my control and had nothing to do with the coaching and the strategy that we had provided for her business. And I had the conviction and the certainty, and I was so sold on what it was that we had helped her with that it didn't impact me. I didn't argue with her. Right? She's 1000% allowed to have her feelings. I'm neutral about them. Like it stung for like a second maybe because I'm a human and it doesn't feel good to have people say certain things to you. But I mean, less than an hour, I was back at it and over it, where maybe 5 or 6 years ago, that would have derailed me for a while, right? Like you have maybe a chargeback from a client. You have an employee who doesn't believe in what you're doing. You have your family members. Maybe your husband isn't certain about the decisions that you're making right now. The more sold you are, the more you will just navigate those things quickly and be able to actually go for the results and the revenue and the profits and all of the things that you want. you will have the empowerment because you will be the one who's energetically creating the results that you want. So selling yourself means you can raise your prices and not spin out and, not be able to sell at the new prices for months because you're not really sold on the new prices. So here are the 5 areas that I will sort of leave you with that I really want you to think about and reflect on, that where you probably have some room for improvement, and some areas you will notice you have more room for improvement than others, that if you can double down and sell yourself on these things in the new year and in the future of your business, it will forever change everything. It will make you like a rock, right? You will be so tough. You will be that ship that no matter what storm the ship hits, the ship is just continuing to set sail. Like it could be a category of 5 hurricane, but the ship is able to navigate it because it is not going to be flipped over, because you have your navigation in place because you are so sold on what it is that you are doing. So the 5 key areas, number 1 is sold on yourself. Where are you not showing up fully online? Where are you overthinking every email, every post or price? You want others to fill you up with belief in your business, but you haven't even fully claimed it yet, right? Where are you not fully sold on yourself? Your family or your partner. Like the people around you are dismissive, they're skeptical, and you are actually showing up to them with half belief. Now, this doesn't mean you can't have like a cry session every once in a while with the people around you who are there to support you, but I would tread cautiously with the people in your inner circle that are not going to be the folks who are going to have your back when the inevitable crap hits the fan as well. And you know who these people are. These are the people who have so much doubt and uncertainty in their own life and ability that they project that doubt and uncertainty onto you. And so you can still love them as a family member, but they may not be the person that you want to go to when you are having a little bit of a rockiness with your self-belief. Your contractors and hires, oh my gosh, this shows up for y'all in more ways than one, where you, even after you hire somebody, you are not sold on what you hired them to do, right? You're like, oh, it's their job to prove to me that what they're doing is going to work. And I know this sounds like, yes, not every service provider. I mean, I just switched ads teams, okay? But I didn't switch ads teams because I don't believe that Facebook ads work. I switched ads teams because we switched our business model that I've talked about on the podcast quite a bit, actually. And I think this new ads team is going to be a better fit. I left the old ads team, with such good energy and like peace, and completed that contract, told them like with that spirit of generosity how much I've appreciated everything they've done for our company. And I've just switched to this better fit ads team. But it wasn't like the old, like, oh my gosh, I wasted so much money on this ads team because it was their fault. I take ownership of all the results that we create. And so I know that when I'm hiring a contractor, half of the ability of that contractor to have success rides on me and how I show up to partner with them. And I also never abdicate any of the results. A lot of you will hire a marketing company because you are not sold on your own ability to lead the marketing of your company. And I'm telling you right now, you cannot abdicate the marketing and the selling and the positioning and the messaging of your company. That is 100% an owner's job. And yes, you can hire folks to help you become the leader you need to be in order to be the captain of those areas. But you have to collaborate and be a co-conspirator with all of the contractors that you hire. And many of you aren't sold on your ability to do that effectively. And so you really need to have a come to Jesus talk with yourself about how this is showing up for you and limiting you as well. Your contractors can't carry the belief for you. And even with your contractors, it matriculates out to them as well too. They're going to give you different direction. They're going to give you different advice if depending on how you are leading them through what you want them to do. Like right now we're working on what our KPIs are going to be for 2026 for every contractor that we work with. All right. Because ultimately we are the leader of them helping us produce the results that we want to produce in 2026. And so it's our job to lead that. But I'm so sold on that, right? I'm sold on the idea that I am the person to do that, that I show up that way and I'm not abdicating any of that to anybody that I hire. And yes, I'm hiring badass experts in every category that we hire for. And even with that, I still know that I need to be sold on what it is that I'm doing and be a person that shows up like a total co-conspirator with those folks. So your clients and your leads, this shows up so much. This shows up in the flavor of how you show up online, in your emails, in your content, in your consult conversations, in when you're coaching your team on their consult conversations, right? Like you start to believe your team's BS about your clients because you aren't that sold. Now, this doesn't mean like, oh, not every client or patient is a perfect fit for you. That's not what I'm saying. But you're so sold on the idea that you created this container for a certain type of patient that if you have like the tire kickers or the price shoppers, that doesn't change anything about your decision making and how sold you are on your pricing, your offers, your ability to deliver results as well. And so this shows up for you and it shows up for your team as well too. Though when you're not sold on your offers, that 1000% shows up in the conversations and how your conviction with the recommendations that you make, with your conviction and how you show up online. So many of you are actually so not sold on yourself. The opposite of not being sold on yourself is you're so in your head about how you're going to look when you show up on video, when you show up online, that some of you just aren't even doing it. Right? You're so thinking about yourself and how not sold you are and your ability to show up in that area that you aren't even showing up in that area. And when you can get out of that, be sold on yourself, and then show up in service continually, that energetically will, I am telling you, this is like the secret sauce that isn't going to be found in any sort of messaging trick, in any sort of posting game plan that some Instagram guru is telling you the secret to how they got 100,000 followers or how they've made millions, right? The secret is likely that they are so sold on themselves that they have showed up consistently. Like that is why they've showed up so consistently. That is why energetically and magnetically they show up in a way that just draws people in. That is the secret sauce of why you've signed up for things in the past. You've implemented certain strategies in the past and you've gotten sort of ho-hum results is because of the energy with which you showed up to it with. You have to sell yourself, okay? If you sell yourself first, your ability to get everybody around you sold is that much easier. So I want you to think about this as you go off after this episode, whether you're going off and you're going into work, maybe you're folding laundry, maybe you're setting up a treatment room, maybe you're commuting, like I said. Whatever you're doing right now, I want you to think about this. And maybe if you have a chance, grab a journal or a piece of paper and really stew on this, okay? Where am I not sold on myself? Where is that showing up? Am I not sold on my leadership? Am I not sold on our offering? Am I not sold on our expertise? Am I not sold on the marketing that we've committed to right now? Am I not sold on where we're going? Am I not sold on my 2026 goals? Am I not sold that this is the badass team that is going to help us get there? Am I not sold on my ability to show up as the visionary leader that is necessary in order to really take this business to the next level. I want you to take some time to journal on that, to show up, because 80% of the battle is having awareness and how this is limiting you right now. All right, my friend, I hope you loved this episode. If you found this episode useful, would you do me a favor and share it with a friend that you think this could help and impact? The biggest gift you can give me if you are a listener of this, a longtime listener, and you love this podcast, is to share it with somebody and then to write me a review as well if you get the chance. All right, my friend, that's what I have for you this week. I'll see you next week.